I just killed something. Like what the karma is now I don't get the job, right?
Yeah.
But
Or
yeah.
it's symbolism. I just killed that fly like I killed this audition.
Hey.
I'm all grown up.
Our guest today is a legendary voice actress, dancer, real estate agent, and former shoe model hailing from Baltimore. A school counselor once told her she had to get vocal training if she ever wanted to be taken seriously, but that individual would have to swallow those words now because you may recognize her as Cindy Vortex and Jimmy Neutron, as Oral Puppington and Moral Oral, as the highly enthusiastic girl from the Fox Family Channel commercial in the late 90s, or even as the voice of our favorite Texan squirrel under the sea. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carolyn Lawrence. Yay.
I was like, who did all that? Oh, that was me.
That's you. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Carolyn. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It seems like just yesterday we met at San Diego Comic-Con. That was last month now.
That was the wildest con for me. I don't know about you, but it was the biggest. It was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, you guys were sort of nonstop for like 4 days straight, huh? You must have been exhausted.
I was exhausted. And it was cool though, because my youngest daughter, because of COVID, she hasn't seen any of my work. When my oldest one has come with me to a lot of events. That was the first time she had been around all that. So it was really fun to have them there with me and that they could see what goes into making all these things happen.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know you had your kids there with you. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I just dragged them around to everything.
That's cool. That's cool. And now here we are in pumpkin spice season. Are you a pumpkin spice person?
I am. How can you not be? I mean,
let's go.
I guess a lot of people aren't, but I'm all in.
Yeah, okay. Well, you and I are kindred spirits. I'm all into. Call me basic or whatever they want to call us, but we have fun.
I enjoy being basic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm lined up at Starbucks and Dunkin' the day they drop.
You know what? That's what I knew. Like when the big internet thing happened and nothing was working, the only reason I knew that the world had changed is because my Starbucks app wouldn't work. I was
like, well, I mean, speaking of pumpkin spice season, I know that you're from Baltimore, but I've also heard that you grew up in Ohio. Did you move to Ohio or is that not true?
That is true. So I was born in Baltimore. My dad worked for the government, so we moved. So I was in Baltimore, then I was in Battle Creek, Michigan, home of Kellogg's, and then Ohio, and then I moved to Chicago.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about, when you were a kid in between those places, what were some of your favorite Halloween memories? Like, traditions that you had, favorite costumes, stuff like that. What was your favorite spot to celebrate Halloween?
Oh, yeah. We were big trick-or-treaters. And we liked homemade costumes, nothing fancy. Hobos was big. I don't even think people do that anymore.
Nice.
It's
yeah.
Appropriate. It's so not okay. And yet there we were. Awesome. But I do have, it's kind of awful, but it was also kind of funny. So the last time that I went trick-or-treating as a kid, I was with my friend Jennifer, and we got jumped by these older kids that wanted to steal our candy. We had our candy. We used to carry pillowcases and put our candy in. So we were carrying pillowcases, and they were trying to steal the pillowcases full of candy, and my friend wouldn't let hers go. Like she it was so bad that he had her airborne, right? Like he was holding on to the pillowcase and he was swinging and she was airborne and we're screaming. And I'm like, let go of the candy. Like, honestly, you let go of the candy.
Not worth your life.
Not worth your life. And I had a flashlight. So I whacked the guy in the forehead with the flashlight. And then we ran to somebody's house and they called the police and the whole thing. And that was the last time that I went trick-or-treating as a kid.
How old were you when that incident occurred?
It had to be middle school. I had to be on the cusp of not doing it anymore.
You and your friend are badass though. You stood on business about that candy.
We did. I remember saying to the police officer, he's got to have some sort of mark on his forehead.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. That's sort of like a plot device in many a Halloween, sitcom or movie like Hocus Pocus had the bullies and the adventures of Pete and Pete. That's crazy.
Well, it's funny too nowadays, obviously bullying is not okay ever, right? But Absolutely. They forget that there are parts of it that are also a part of childhood. There's levels, right? Like bullying, no, never. But then there's also that kid thing that happens that's not the end of the world, but it's kind of awful. All right, I'm getting a lot of flack for that, but it's true. Like you can't stop all the things.
There's a little bit of character building involved
Correct.
in like
Right.
these exercises where it's like, okay, you need to stand up for yourself when he's teasing you and you know.
Right. Learn to stand up for yourself, learn to walk away well, like
Y-
all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, now that you have two daughters of your own, what are your favorite Halloween traditions with them?
I live in a neighborhood that loses its mind at Halloween. I'm very blessed to be in. It's funny because, different states and different cities have their things. Like some are all
Sure.
out on Christmas and some are all out on 4th of July. In my neighborhood, it is Halloween. And maybe that's because we're in LA,
Yeah, yeah.
where there's so many like people who do set building and costuming, and it's pretty crazy. So being here is really fun with the girls, but it gets so crowded that it's not safe. So we try to go out early.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to the point where you can't even drive down the street, then I'm like, yeah, we gotta head back.
When we're off air, I'm going to guess that neighborhood. I think I know what
Okay.
it is. Just based on that description, I think I know what it is. So I
Yeah.
want to take it back to your childhood a little bit. I know that you wanted to be a dancer since you were a kid. So I'm curious, what inspired that? Like, where did it start? When did you first have that inkling?
It's funny because I talked to I have an older sister, and it started because we were only 20 months apart, right? So we kind of felt a little, I anyway, felt like we were the same.
Yeah.
She definitely felt like I was the younger one. But I always wanted to do everything she wanted to do. So when she started dance class, I was like, well, I want to start dance class.
For
So I
sure.
basically did it just because I wanted to do everything she did. And then I
Wow.
found it was a passion and I was good at it. And I was pretty shy when I was young, but I liked to perform. So it was that perfect thing where I could be on stage and I could perform, but I could also hide at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't have to talk and I didn't have to sing and I didn't have to do anything except express myself through dancing.
Yeah. You were an extroverted introvert.
And I still am. It's true.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then in that case, did your sister join you at summer camp at Blue Lakes?
She did.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my God. That's so funny. You're the only person in all these years that has found out these things about me. Like every interview, they say, ask the same things. And it's so fun that like, I don't know. It's just fun that you dove this far back.
Oh, no, I try.
Yeah,
Was your sister able to pass the canoe test that you didn't pass?
probably. I don't really remember. I'm sure she did because she was always older and just better at everything. But yeah, we had a lot of fun going to summer camp together.
Yeah,
That was
I bet. I know you said that you sort of when you first were there, you cried for a few days. I guess you missed
Oh, I
home and stuff
sobbed
like that.
profusely. Yeah, sob profusely. And then she'd be like, yeah, fine. You stay in the cabin and sob. I'm going to go have a good time. I'm like, oh, you're leaving me. Yeah.
Was it was it sort of a classic summer camp feel where you guys would get together and tell scary stories around a campfire once in a while?
Yes, to a certain extent, but it was a fine arts camp.
Yeah.
So people were there for music and dance and theater. And oh my God, I'm the worst sister ever. Why was she there? I think because I know she wasn't there for dance. I think she was there for she played what did she play? I played the cello. Oh, she played the bass. I think she was probably there for orchestra. Oh my
Oh, wow,
gosh,
very cool.
call her and be like, Sue, why is my memory so bad? But yeah, so it had lots of things. It had the scary stories. It had Checkpoint Charlie.
Yeah.
Did you go to summer
No,
camp?
I didn't.
So for the people who don't know, Checkpoint Charlie is that part at the camp where the girls at night have to go to their cabins on this side and the boys go to their cabins on that side. But right at that line is where you get to say goodnight. So that's
Oh,
right. That's where maybe you hug, maybe somebody gets to kiss somebody.
right.
Yeah. So that was the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, summer camp is where a lot of those sort of like proto relationships start. So
Right. Who's going to sneak up across Checkpoint Charlie and be like the bad kid, right?
yeah,
Ooh, she went across the line. Yeah.
be a little risk. I love it. You going to summer camp for dance and stuff means you obviously took it very seriously. Is it true that you eventually left high school to go to Chicago to pursue it professionally?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I apprenticed in Ohio with Ballet Metropolitan, which is in Columbus, Ohio. So I
Right.
was an apprentice with them and working with that company. And I realized that I would probably never be a principal dancer. I would always be a snowflake in the corps. And I felt like that just wasn't a good fit for me.
Sure.
And so I know I had enough credits to graduate early. So I left in the summers and I would go to Chicago and I would train in Chicago. And I got an offer to go apprentice with a jazz company there.
Was that
But
Gus Giordano?
yeah, that was Gus Giordano. But then I had like one credit left in high school I had to do or something. So I think I came back and I like did the one credit and then I left and then I came back, but I did graduate with my class.
I got you. You
Yeah.
didn't have to spend all the time with them, but you came back for the ceremony and
Right.
stuff like
I
that.
mean, my mom would be able to say what I did. I think in life, I tend to be so motivated and multitasking that a lot of times time frames and details escape me.
Just based on everything I know about you, the multitasking, I admire your level of it.
Well, except that somehow my memory sometimes just drops things and I'm like, what did I do? What was that?
Do you recall at what point in the timeline there that you used to go to New York in the summer to model shoes?
Yeah, so that was when I lived in Chicago. When I lived in Chicago, I don't even know, another dancer must have told me that they had these huge shoe shows in New York where they book out a bunch of hotel rooms and all the different companies come and each company gets like a suite, like Adidas will have a suite and whatever will
Right.
have a suite. And that's where they show all their shoes to buyers and that it's a sample size 6. So if your foot is a 6 and you have decent legs,
You're
you can
golden.
make money. You're golden. And I was like, oh, so that'll pay for being there and training. And it was really fun because they also, some of the companies that I worked for would give you an outfit to wear. So I didn't even have to worry about like not having nice clothes. They would give you a shirt
Wow.
and a skirt and whatever, and then you put their shoes on. And that was a wild experience because one, I had no idea that shoes, the base price was so unbelievably inexpensive.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, so whatever high-end department store is going to buy this shoe for $2.50
They're
and
going
then
to
I
mark it up.
buy it for $185? Like I was like,
Did you leave the deal with free shoes?
I did not leave the deal with free shoes, but I did leave the deal with somebody offering me a job. One of those shoe companies offered me a job and asked if I wanted to move to North Carolina or something and be a salesperson,
Which you declined.
which I declined. But I was like, well, that's good to know I've got a skill.
So when you were in Chicago, you know, obviously as a very young girl, do you recall your frame of mind in terms of like, okay, when you went there, you had an ideal goal of saying, well, in a certain amount of time, I'm going to be this. Like, what was the answer to that?
The answer was just that I was excited that I was there and able to work. I just wanted to work. So when I first went, I stayed at a boarding house, which was a whole thing. I don't
Yeah.
even think they have those anymore. Where like it's like summer camp. The
Yeah.
ground floor was girls, and then the second floor was boys. And you had a room, but it had a communal bathroom down the hall. And you didn't have a kitchen, but you could have a crock pot. So
Oh,
I remember
wow.
existing on ramen noodles. That
Yeah,
was pretty
classic.
right. But that was great because it was inexpensive. So I could afford to live there and dance with the company. But then ultimately I wanted to get my own apartment and then I had to get 2 other jobs. It became a whole thing. But I think I was so focused on just being in the moment of like, I'm doing this right now. I'm going to work really hard at this. I'm making a living and then seeing like where that would take me.
Sure.
I had like huge thoughts beyond that.
So one day, a friend of yours named Steve, who attended dance class with you, that's who brought you in for your first voice recording. Is that correct?
That is correct. You're so funny. And I've never found him because I can't remember his last name.
Oh,
So,
no.
yeah. So I keep hoping every time we do something like this, I keep hoping he'll get on social media and he'll be like, I was the Steve.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a message. Steve, if you were out there, Steve from Chicago, if you're still there,
Right.
please drop Carolyn a
Right.
line.
Right. Who worked at Universal Recording. Steve.
Yes.
Who took company dance class. No offense, Steve. You weren't really a dancer. So the funniest thing about Steve was that company classes are for traveling professional dancers.
Uh-huh.
So like if the cast from Cats was in town and they wanted to work out, they would come take our company class. right? It wasn't for people off the street or whatever. It was specifically company class.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Steve always came and took company class. And we all loved him. And so it didn't matter. But like, you know, the whole class is going this way and he might be going that way. Like, but yeah, he was the one who took me aside one day and said, you have an interesting sound. Do you want to come audition for something?
And was that audition for the Snoozies?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay.
Look at you knowing all.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't even know. I mean, I didn't know what he was talking about. I honestly had no idea. I didn't know people made a living doing voiceover. It never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, now obviously I'm like, oh, sure, radio, like you hear things.
Right,
Didn't
right.
But yeah, I booked that job and I was like, wow, I can make a lot more money with a lot less effort than trying to be a professional dancer, because I was like, I knew my years were limited, right? I mean, unless you're one of those rare dancers that's blessed, that has a career that goes forever and your body holds up and all of that.
Right.
I kind of figured would it take me into retirement?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it's just amazing that it came into my world at that moment.
Do you recall which Snoozy doll it was, and do you have one?
I do have them. I just recently found them because I have a house that had a water leak. That's a whole drama.
Oh, sad.
It's a nightmare. But we had to empty everything out, and we did find them when we were going through everything. So it was a duck and a sheep.
Awesome.
And I don't remember what they sound like because the batteries were dead in them, but I do still have them.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you is there a way to change those batteries out to still hear the voice box?
Oh, I'm sure. I just haven't done it. Yeah, I'll have to get on that. I should. Yeah, I'll try to find them and put a battery in them.
You should do that. Would be a great Instagram, TikTok post for you.
Yeah, you're right. That's really funny.
Yeah. So that was your first foray into voice acting. And so before you moved to LA, was there anything else that popped up for you in Chicago in that area?
Oh, I worked a lot. It was interesting because right at that time, it's so interesting in life where sometimes something can be a huge blessing at a time that's also really difficult.
Yeah.
So as I was leaving my dancing career is when AIDS happened.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of my company members and a lot of people that I had worked with had started passing. And it was such an awful time in the arts, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that during such an awful time is when this new career was like brought to light for me. So thank you to whoever makes those things happen, right? But I did start working a lot in voiceover in Chicago. I got an agent and I did a lot of radio commercials. I started doing some TV commercials. I did a TV commercial with Michael Jordan, which was an amazing experience.
Do you have footage of that?
I don't.
We have to get it. We have to find it.
I don't even think, you know what's so funny? Like, so for any of you that like want to do things like that, I was so excited, right? Because it was a bunch of us young people around a table at a McDonald's with Michael Jordan, and I'm sitting next to him, and it takes all day to film, and it's this whole big thing. And then when I finally saw it aired, we're basically like blurred out. Like,
oh no.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, like you can't even tell. You just don't know how those things are going to go. That was a really interesting thing to me, though, because in the middle of filming, he just quietly got up and walked away. And I was like, what's that about? And he went and he was in his car. He was like in a limo or something for a while. And then he came back and we continued working. Now that I've been doing this a long time, I realized that you have a contract.
Yeah.
And when you agree to do something, a lot of times it has a time limit.
Totally.
We're going to pay you this amount of money for this much time. And I think he beautifully, quietly took his power and was like, we're at my time limit. And this is probably when they renegotiate. But there was no drama and there was no.
Wow.
And I don't know that for sure. But
Yeah.
looking back, I think that's what happened.
That seems like exactly the type of boss move that Jordan would pull.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And now that I've been in this so long and I watch people and I love boss moves, I love when people do things like that from such a quiet place of power.
Yeah,
I have
totally.
mad respect for those moments. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you get to interact with him at all? Or was it kind of like
Oh
just,
yeah, we chatted all day. I just
oh
can't
my
believe it.
God, that's, do you remember like what you conversed about?
No, I just remember he was very gracious,
Yeah.
has an infectious smile, and
Yeah.
just was just lovely.
That's so cool to hear. All right. I hope that we find that footage someday. That'd be really cool.
You'll see me
Even if it is blurred. Yeah.
blurred off to his side, just a blonde thing next to him.
So you're in Chicago, you're doing pretty good. You're working commercials, voice
Right,
acting and stuff.
right.
So eventually you moved to LA because you met a guy. Was that Michael?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So Mike, for those who don't know, Mike Stoyanov, amazing actor. We met in Chicago at a party, and he was doing incredibly well. Like he was doing all the theater there, starring and everything, like Second City, whatever. Like just really well respected actor in Chicago.
Yeah, killing it.
And then he went out to LA for some auditions. And then he decided, he needed to stay in LA. But by then we had fallen madly in love. And so he came back and he said, are you going to stay in Chicago? Because I had gotten a role in a play, The Great Gatsby. And I was really excited because it would have been my first acting job, not dancing, my first theater acting job.
Yeah.
And he was like, were you going to stay here and do Great Gatsby, or are you going to come to LA? And my youthful enthusiasm was like, well, obviously I'll come to LA.
Yeah.
I'll follow the man I love. And that's what got me to LA. Yeah.
And so when you got there, you were doing a lot of sitcoms. I know
Right.
you were on Wings, you were on Caroline in the City, Weird Science, etc.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so do you recall, so when you got to LA then and that was happening for you, did you have a larger goal of, was it still just like, look, I'm taking it as it comes and I just want to work? Or were you starting to see bigger goals of like, all right, maybe I can be the star of my own sitcom. Maybe I could write something and be in it, any of that stuff?
Oh gosh. Well, no, I mean, I'm just grateful to be working
Yeah.
and like still amazed. Like, oh my goodness, I booked another thing. Weird. I thought I would reinvigorate my dancing career, to be honest with you.
Right. Okay.
And so I started auditioning for dance out here. But by then, the industry had shifted and they wanted dancers who could do tricks. Like, and I didn't do tricks. I was classically trained. I was like, I can't do a backflip into a split into I don't know, whatever. I was like, that's not. So that was a little jarring. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't fit in this world anymore. Like I couldn't find a place where I fit anymore. Yeah, it was interesting. But also at that time, Mike's career really took off. He got Blossom
Right.
and he had such huge success that I truly was also happy just to be able to be of support. Because it's when you first become successful like that, especially when you're young, it can be so overwhelming.
Yeah.
He had to incorporate himself and that you're running a small business basically. And
Yeah.
so I ran that part of his business for him and I felt really good about that role. So anything that I was booking while married, I was just excited that I was working, but I felt like my main goal was to help support him because he was the one having that success at the moment.
Wow. That's really cool of you.
Well, I thought in life that means I do that for him and then later in life he does that for me.
Right. Right.
But see,
Right.
then our marriage didn't work.
Sure. There wasn't time for the reciprocation.
Except now we're really good friends. And now, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
now he's a great part of my life.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. That
Yeah.
you've mentioned that he may or may not be helping you out with a real estate project in New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a condo there and the dishwasher broke and it's so old that there is not a dishwasher to be found
Oh
that
my
will
God.
fit any longer. So that entire part of the kitchen has to be redone.
Oh boy.
So he's going to be my point man.
All right. Well, good. This is his time to help, to pay it back.
Exactly. Right. Right.
Well, as you've alluded to, it doesn't work out with Michael, and freshly divorced. One day you're walking on the sidewalk in Los Feliz with your friend Quentin Flynn, who's a
Yes.
pretty legendary voice actor in his own right. How did you
Yes.
know Quentin at that point? Was it from working together, or?
We had started dating.
Oh, you were dating Quentin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, so you were sort of romantically strolling down the sidewalk.
Yeah. Yeah. That gives you a
Um,
new visual.
yes, yeah. No, it definitely helps for the visual. Yeah. And so, and that's when he runs into his friend Donna Grillo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Correct.
yeah, who asks you, if you're an actress and if you have a rep,
Right.
etc. Now,
Yeah.
was that your first time meeting her, and that was her first time hearing your voice?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So it
And
was
I
off.
really,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead. No,
Uh,
go.
It was off of the strength of just hearing it in that conversation that she thought to herself, like, oh, she would be perfect to read.
Right. And this is what's so crazy. So the industry changes all the time. And artists have to adapt. Like right now, we're doing this. This was never
Never a thing before.
It was never a thing before, right? So back in the day, the industry actually let casting directors cast. And casting directors had a talent for finding talent.
Yeah.
And she was one of those people. So it's a shame now, if the studios are listening, that you guys don't really let these casting directors cast anymore because it is a talent.
So
Like, let them go out and find those people, that instead of just going down your list of like, well, this person is famous for this and this person's famous for that. Go back out and find some talent,
Agreed.
you know?
Yeah, because I mean that anecdote is one of those like old school ones that you don't hear anymore. The like legitimately got discovered on the street.
Right. And now it's like the network makes lists, right? This
Right.
person has so many followers, or this person does well in this country. It's all list based and calculations and money. And I feel like we've lost that bit of creativity and humanity that really made things unique and really made things exciting.
Big time.
But that being said, things like what you're doing now are bringing it back because people now have an ability to be seen in a new way.
Yes.
And showcase themselves. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. After you kind of have that interaction with her, is your first audition in person or is that a recording you make and send in?
It's a recording that you make and send in. Then they filter it down and then they start doing callbacks.
Right.
Yeah.
And your callback was in the room at a conference table with Steven Hillenburg where you killed a fly.
Right. And for anybody that knows me, I don't want to kill anything ever. Like I like the person who will carry an ant outside, right? The one caveat being the Black Widows. If you're a Black Widow and you make it into my home, you may not stay.
Yeah. Dangerous stuff.
There's a few things that like, okay, a rat in my wall, I'm sorry, you may not stay.
Right.
But most things I try to, yeah. So I was mortified that I smashed. And what are the odds? Like you swat at something, you never get it. Right?
Yeah. Did you react to it like sort of like, oh no, or did you kind of play it off?
No, I was like, oh no.
How was Steven just like, oh, move on, like it's all good?
No, he was like, it's okay. You're okay.
I totally relate. I think that would be me. I would like do something like that and be like, oh my God, did I just screw myself? Do I not have the part anymore?
Well, and I was like, karma. I just killed something. Like the karma is now I don't get the job, right?
Yeah.
But
or it's symbolism. I just killed that fly like I killed this audition.
Hey, you go.
Let's go. So, speaking of Steve, so once you got hired, he sent you binders of information about the ocean, about squirrels, and which you didn't read through thoroughly. Well, you just kind of skimmed it.
Yeah, I was so overwhelmed. I was like, am I really it's like being in school, right? I'm like, am I really supposed to learn all this? Like, am I going to be quizzed at the first? Like, I completely panicked.
Well, did he give it to you with a specific instruction like, hey, I want you to kind of know this stuff because it's going to impact your performance? Or was it just like, hey, this is just some information in case you want it?
I don't even remember. I think it was just like, oh, you might find this helpful.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But what's amazing about him is just that his brain, like when you think about it, the fact that he even could put that all together,
Yeah.
like the fact that he even thought about all of it, to research all of it, to put it together, says a lot about his passion for everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. At this point I've had multiple guests on the podcast that have worked with him, and everybody just has the most wonderful things to say about him. I wish I would have had the chance to meet him.
Yeah, yeah, pretty incredible human being. He was always a little bit hard to feel like you never really felt completely sure where you stood. Like he was
Uh-huh.
always lovely and always kind and always, but there was always that part of me was like, are we friends? Are we
Right, 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 right.
do we just work together? I don't know. Some people are kind of hard to figure out like where you fit.
Totally. That's interesting that I've heard an anecdote you've told when because you said that for the first 3 years you were just a day player, right? You were
Right.
not on contract. And
Right.
so you thought, well, I could be let go at any moment.
Oh, every week I was so neurotic that this was the week that I was going to get fired. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so he came up to you and told you you were doing a great job, and you were like, "Oh, thanks for saying that. I thought, I might get fired." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that."
Yes, he did. That was at a Christmas party. He was like, yeah. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. And I went home like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I've said too much.
Right? Why did I even bring it up? Now I'm really gonna get fired.
Well, to that point, I'm so curious. For those 3 years, when the contract came about, was it as a result of did Nickelodeon just come to you and say like it's time, or did your representation kind of say, "Hey guys, look, we're going on to season 4 here. Like we need something concrete."
I think it was an organic thing of them wanting to secure the cast. I
Right.
think I think it was that I mean, I don't really remember exactly where it happened in the seasons, but I think what happened was most of us were day players. I don't think I was the only one. I think
Right.
most of us were. And then they decided that because it was a hit, they didn't want us to be, I mean, it all comes down to money.
For sure.
They wanted to secure their budget and know what they were going to pay people,
Yeah.
do some sort of structure. And so I think that's all that was.
Do you recall the feeling when that contract came in where you sort of like, "Oh, I made it to the next level"?
Oh my God, how honest can I be right now in this moment?
Very, very.
I, oh gosh. Okay, world, don't get mad at me. In that moment, I was like, oh, interesting. I'm going to be on the bottom tier. I'm the only woman and I'm going to be paid the least amount. This is where we are.
Wow. And we're talking what, 2002, 3?
I don't know, something like that.
Wow. Okay.
And
Well,
I can't get too into it.
yeah.
I was so excited to be considered a series regular and still
Yeah.
am,
Yeah.
obviously. But I did have that moment where I was like, oh, cool.
The only thing I can say is I certainly hope that's changed. Oh man. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes, no, the whole industry is changing.
Yeah.
Whole industry is changing and a lot of efforts are being made and people are working really hard and we just got to keep you got to keep trying
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
and also be so grateful to even have the opportunity to try.
Yeah.
So I'm all good,
Yeah.
but there is an acknowledgement always of like that and 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 hoping that my girls get into I hope society keeps changing in a way that they don't have the same fights all the time.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
But odds are everybody will. Odds
Right.
are anybody of color, anybody who's in any marginalized group, odds are it's just going to be there for a while.
We're going to keep on fighting the good fight.
Keep on fighting the good fight.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and keep on supporting each other. I think that's the biggest thing.
That's the way we move forward.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
So excited for this moment in time when it does feel like things are shifting.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Did you ever see in the early days there, did you ever see early versions of the Pitch Bible by chance?
I'm sure I did. I know I saw a lot of early artwork and Steve would doodle. And they have the pitch. They have some of that stuff in the library at the studio.
At the studio, yeah. Well, this is unconfirmed, but internet rumor says that in early versions, Sandy and SpongeBob's relationship was described as like SpongeBob had an unrequited crush on Sandy, the apple of SpongeBob's eye, the only reason he would miss work, and that he would like do the crazy stunts and stuff she wanted to do just as like a way to sort of like grab her attention or anything like that. I don't know if you remember reading that.
You know what's funny is I don't really think, I mean, I personally don't feel like that was ever part of Steve's intent. I think he really just wanted everybody to be friends and that
Yeah.
friends like are inspired by their friendship. I don't think he had thoughts beyond, like, I don't think he ever had romantic thoughts about it. I think he was just like, she's a cool chick. She's going to go jellyfishing and he wants to be good at it. And I think it was pretty benign, but I could go poke around in the archives.
That would be a fun exercise to do together.
That would,
I would be so down for that. Wow. Okay. We should talk about it.
and we'll put that on the list.
Yeah.
I know I actually met a bunch of interns at the studio recently that are in charge of going through the archives and trying to find some of that old stuff. So I'll have to bug them and see. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Maybe they have some copies of those binders I didn't save.
Wow. That would be incredible.
Right?
You've mentioned that initially you were intimidated kind of by your castmates just because of their experience at the
Oh
time
yeah.
versus yours. Is that something that you feel like you overcame just by doing it over and over again and having that experience, or were there any particular moments you can recall that sort of made you feel like, okay, I'm part of the gang here?
I think I will forever be insecure.
Oh,
I don't
no.
think that I don't think it ever goes away. I really don't. I don't. I certainly feel better about my abilities because I haven't been fired in 25 years.
Listen, that's a testament in and of itself.
So like I must not completely stink. No, I don't. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I have to give my children credit. I truly think that becoming a parent,
Yeah.
later in life especially, gave me a certain grounding that I didn't have before. So I feel like, I know it doesn't seem related, but it is. Like I
Yeah.
feel like a stronger person when I go into work now because of them. So I think that's helped the shift a little bit.
Wow, that's awesome. Speaking of your daughters, I know that you're a single mom by choice, which I respect the hell out of.
Thank you.
Yeah. Being that you're a mother of two and a voice actress, what got you into and how did you find the time for real estate?
Okay, so when I had my first daughter,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I made this choice to be a mom by myself with very little support. And what the heck was I thinking? And if I don't book a job, who's going to pay for her college? Like my brain just went, oh my gosh, I didn't think enough about the long term if I don't keep working or I don't book something or the show ends or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've always had a passion for real estate. When I was a dancer, one of my many jobs was I worked as a receptionist at a real estate office.
Oh, cool.
I had learned all about like real estate from being there.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, this makes the most sense. So I got my license so that I had a fallback if I wasn't booking. But then if you look at it now, it's like I chose two incredibly ridiculous careers that are based on random things.
Yeah, so true.
I would have been better off going and getting a job like at Vaughn's where I could count on a paycheck.
A consistency.
Consistency than getting my real estate license and just hoping I sell something. So yeah, but when she was young, I was working really hard and I did well. And I am very grateful for that experience. But clients call you all the time.
Right.
Like there's no boundaries. They freak out, rightly so. 2 a.m. They think they made a mistake. They don't have
Yeah.
the money, whatever. And you have to handle them, right?
Yeah.
And I was at the movie theater one day with my youngest and we were coming out and I got a call from a client and we stopped in the lobby because I had to handle it.
Yeah.
She had a friend she wanted to talk to and I couldn't, there was something going on and I was like, you have to just wait, right? And when I hung up the phone, she was like, I want you to stop that. I want you to stop that job. And I was like, you're right. You got it.
Wow.
So that was that. But I kept my license because I love construction and I love design and I still buy and sell just on my own. I just don't work with the general public.
When you were in the, in the heart of it, was there ever a time when, you were working with someone that wasn't necessarily familiar with you as Sandy, and then it was like, hey, your voice sounds familiar.
People people still do that all the time. When when she was young, I also didn't want, like, when we went to school, I didn't want her friends to be like, "Oh my God, your mom's Sandy," or whatever. So I always just told people I did real estate.
Right.
So nobody, not that I ever want to lie because I don't want to lie, but I
Yeah.
also didn't want her school experience to be about me.
Totally. Yeah. That could impact it a lot, especially here in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Right. I was like, we're not doing that. But then it was weird when parents would find out. They'd be like, "What? Why didn't you say anything?" I'm like, "Because we're not, no."
You've said that the moment or the kind of time that you knew that SpongeBob was a hit, there was something serious, is when you started to see products roll out at Target.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I know that Roger Bumpus bought you a Sandy snow globe during pandemic. Did you ever receive that?
You know what's so funny? Every time I see him, he's like, "I've got that snow globe for you." I'm like, "Okay, Roger."
So not yet. So not yet.
Not yet. It's because we never seem to know when we're working together. Like, a lot of times we
Right.
get,
It's all separate now.
well, no, but even now, like, they'll be like, "Oh, you're recording 2 to 6 Wednesday." And I'm like, "But who else is coming in?" Like, sometimes I don't, and then we'll both be there and we'll be like, "Oh, today would have been the day."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But he lives close by and we joke. I'm like, "You could just leave it on my porch.
Yeah. Totally. Just pop by.
Or I could pop by but it just hasn't happened." But yeah, he still has it.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I know that you've stated that you wanted to work out getting merchandising rights from Nick. How's that sort of been working out?
Well, what was funny, that was 15 years ago. They were willing to give me the licensing rights, but when the contract came through, I couldn't meet their needs because they had volumes that they wanted me to be Target, and I was making shirts on my dining room table.
Right.
I was like, I can't meet your quotas. I'm like a lady on my dining room table. Like, that's not going to happen. So I kind of let that fall apart. But now I do have a site, and it's beyondthetreedome.com.
Okay.
And I'm doing my first big launch is my oldest daughter drew a picture of Sandy when she was 7 years old.
Amazing.
And I love it so much. And I hope the fans love it too. So I put it on a shirt.
Awesome. Is it on sale right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. I'll make sure we throw up a link to it.
Yeah. And there's some other shirts there too. My OG Sandy, because I'm the OG Sandy. And we've got some things coming out soon. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, we haven't done a huge launch yet. I've kind of been like making sure that we have our systems in place.
Right.
Yes, it's all up and moving and ready to sell.
I need you to help me with a piece of IMDb trivia that I don't know if it's accurate or not.
Uh-oh.
Obviously, Sandy Cheeks is a karate expert. IMDb says that you are a green belt. Is that correct?
No, and I don't know why they keep saying that. Like, everybody keeps picking it up. I'm not. I did take boxing for a long time.
Okay.
But I have not done karate, even though I feel like I probably should, because worlds are colliding, right?
Yeah.
I've played her this long. I was an athlete. Perhaps I should just go ahead and go train.
I could help you with that. I'm a practitioner.
Are you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be so fun. I would love that.
I've trained in lots of martial arts over my life, but my main style is traditional Goju-Ryu karate. So it'd be just like what Sandy Cheeks would need to be doing.
Oh my gosh, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do that.
We will make it happen then.
Okay. Okay. That's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
And then we'll make the lies true.
Then we will in fact, we'll correct them. We'll get you up to black belt. They'll have to adjust it.
Oh my gosh, that would be really fun. Oh my God. How funny would that be if I came home one day and I was like, "So girls, you know what? Your mom's a black belt."
Just break something while you say it.
Oh, yeah, right? Walk in, put the board down. Get to school on time.
What about that homework?
Right, exactly. Did you just talk back to me? Yeah.
I know that you've also said that a lot of your favorite moments in the show come when Sandy gets to sing, because you love to do that. But one thing that I don't think anyone's ever asked you is what SpongeBob songs have happened that Sandy wasn't a part of that you wish that you would have gotten to be a part of?
Oh, interesting. I don't really know. I'd have to think about that. He had one about, doesn't he have one about a sweater?
There is a sweater song. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Sweater song? I think the sweater song would be awesome. Um, I mean, I could never do it justice, but Sweet Victory would be, would
Oh
be fun.
man. Yeah.
Not really my vocal range, but it would be fun. That
Totally.
kind of like arena rock or whatever they used to call it. Like, how fun is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I know that's Tom Kenny's favorite song and episode, I think, too. So
Yeah. Tom, I mean, come on. That talent in that man. I don't know
unbelievable.
his band. Have you ever seen his band?
Yes. Tom Kenny and the High Seas.
Okay, they're so good.
Incredible. It's one of those like, anomalies, like guys like him, Seth MacFarlane, they could just do
Yeah.
anything at any time and they're the best at it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And we've done a couple shows. We did a big show at the Grove once where we sang with his band.
Oh, wow. I'm sad to have missed it.
Yeah, we have done a couple things over the years, and it'd be fun if we would do more. But
Yeah.
yeah, we did a show, we did a charity show for Children's Hospital, and I think I was like 8 months pregnant. And those pictures are funny because I'm standing at the mic singing a huge SpongeBob shirt.
I've got to track some of those down. That's awesome. I know that you've expressed interest in doing I think the idea is really cool, a documentary where you meet and interact with voice actors around the world that have done Sandy Cheeks' voice and talk about how the roles impacted them and stuff like that. I'm so curious as to whether has any headway been made on that project?
Oh, I've done an official pitch. We've had many discussions, and it just doesn't seem to move forward. The powers that be always say it's such a great idea, but then it doesn't ever go anywhere. So
that's such a shame because it really is a great idea. You know what it's similar to? Have you ever watched the documentary Exporting Raymond?
No, I'll have to look it up.
So
Okay.
if you are, I'm sure you're familiar with Everybody Loves Raymond.
Of course. Hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. I had Phil Rosenthal is a friend of mine. I had him on the podcast.
Okay. I just wrote that.
Yeah, so he does the show now called Somebody Feed Phil, if you're familiar, on Netflix.
Okay. No.
Where it's a food travel documentary, but the way that it came up, it's going into like season 7 or 8 now. But the way that it came up was because Everybody Loves Raymond, after it ended, it became, and I believe it still might be, the most internationally syndicated sitcom ever, like the most countries and languages of any. So the documentary was about him going to Russia and into like helping them through the process of making it Russian. And it's sort of like, some of the jokes don't land because they're jokes for Americans and Russian society won't get it, and you have to change and this and that. But it was really, really cool, and it did really well. And I think what you're suggesting kind of has the same tone, and so I think it's something totally doable. I don't know the different licensing deals, but I know that there is one with Netflix, being that the Sandy Cheeks movie was released on Netflix, and so I think Netflix should be super interested in your project. But
I agree. It's interesting because I was thinking about that too, because when the Save a Bikini Bottom was #1 globally,
yeah,
and they sent me a thing because it was global in 83 countries. It was #1.
yeah,
And I was like, what?
yeah,
Like,
that's mind blowing.
mind blowing. But I have a list of all the countries, and I was like, I need to get out there and meet those women.
Yeah, I dig the idea. So
I'm with you. So yeah, maybe your beautiful smile and power can make it happen.
I will always try my best.
Thank you.
If you could bring back just one thing from the 90s, what would it be?
Oh, but that's going to get too deep. You know where my brain just went? Oh my God, now I'm going to cry.
Uh-oh.
It's not, it's like my dad.
Yeah, I hear you. That's funny. We were just talking about Phil. He said the same thing.
I know you're thinking all the other things, but my dad came into my brain.
No, I totally hear you there.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
But that, and what else? What else was in the 90s? Was there cool clothes?
Totally.
Some fashion, something?
Yeah, yeah. I did love your wardrobe in the Fox Family commercial.
Oh my gosh. That was one of those moments. You're so funny. So as an actor, you have all these moments, right?
Yeah.
That was the one where they were like, this is going to make you a star. This is going to make you like, you're going to blow up after this. You're going to get so many offers and you're just going to be all, and then there was nothing.
Right. which sucks because it was a funny like gimmick. Like, you know, I totally see like the chance to be like, all right, you're going to be Flo now. You know what I mean?
Right. It was so much fun. We had so much fun filming those, and the whole experience was so great. And then Hollywood went, meh.
Yeah. Damn it. Their loss.
Have you heard of the new Fox Family Channel? No? Okay. Okay. So Fox, the TV network, marries the Family Channel. And a year later, they had a bouncing baby. No, whoa, start over. Okay. The Fox Family Channel. See, it's like Fox, only with some more safe stuff, but not like dorky safe stuff, like good safe stuff, you know? I mean, it's got like wholesome stuff, but not like wholesome stuff, you know? No, I got it. The Fox Family Channel. It's like family TV for the new millennium.
You never know what's going to come next. I mean, I never thought I'd be at the Super Bowl. We did that. I never thought Sandy would have a movie. We did that.
And number one in 80 countries.
So who knows?
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll have my chance to be Flo.
Yeah, there you go. And speaking of that poster, I just want the listeners to know, because you and I talked about it, but tell us about that poster behind you.
Okay, so my mom was disappointed she wasn't seeing any press for the movie. She's still my biggest fan. And so she saw a little something in, like, I don't know if it was in a magazine or what it was. And she took a photograph of it and she blew it up into a poster for me. And she mailed it to me because she wanted me to have a poster for the movie. And you can see the photo, like, it's crooked. You can see like the little corner there is the carpet, I think, because she laid it down like in the carpet in her room to take a picture or whatever. And now it will forever be my favorite poster instead of the official ones, because this one, you know, come on, mom made it.
100%. No, there's heart and emotion in that poster.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Well, speaking of heart and emotion, Carolyn, thank you so much for being such a warm, genuine, kind person. So generous with your time, you know, not only today, but at Comic-Con.
That was so fun.
You were so cool to me. You and the rest of the cast were kind enough to sign the spatula that is proudly hanging on my kitchen wall right now.
Yay.
Yeah. And, you know, I on behalf of my entire generation, I have to say, you know, for being one of the warmest voices of our childhood, just thank you so much.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. I can't wait to take your karate class.
Yes, that's going to be amazing. We'll be in touch and we will make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I'm all grown up.
SYKE, yeehaw!
I'm all grown up.